Hey guys, Henrik here. I'm a Norwegian, and today I'm going to react to Geography Now's Norway episode, which I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what to expect.
Hey everyone, so I'm excited for this one. We recently did a geography in Oslo, Norway, and I had the honor to meet many of you guys, the Norwegian geograpeeps, in your own country. It was amazing. Norway is a country everyone has kind of heard about, something about snow, ice, Vikings, skiing, I think trolls, but Norway is also a land of highly compounded history, tradition, postmodernism, and above all, landscape and people. And black metal! Yes, Keith is really excited for this episode.
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. We've done Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and now the fourth Nordic sister, Norway.
Sister? As well, Norway's fatherland, and as far as I know, all the other Nordic countries are also fatherlands. So I wouldn't exactly call Norway a Nordic sister, but whatever floats your boat, I guess.
Now, in the Nordic countries, Norway would kind of be like the one that everyone either tries to call their best friend or date. She smiles at the ground, pulls her hair behind her ear, and looks up with those sky blue doe eyes that sparkle and says, "Welcome to Norway!"
Alright.
Norway plays a huge role in what it means to be Northern European. And when you look at it on the map, you'll see that it's fascinating how well they've
Well, Norwegian pretty much means northerner. So yeah.
developed a civil infrastructure from a rugged half-frozen peninsula. Oh, and there's a town called Hell.
Yeah. Big deal. I know.
First of all, the country, which kind of looks like the shape of a spoon, is located in
Or something else. I'm not gonna say what.
Northern Europe, in the region known as Scandinavia, just above the North Sea, bordering mostly Sweden to the east, Finland in the far north, and even a small sliver of Russia at the very end. This effectively means that Norway goes even further east than Finland and gets the entire Arctic coast from their neighbors, sharing the Barents Sea with Russia.
Yep, that's correct. Apparently, not a lot of people know that we share the border with Russia. And I didn't actually know that we go further east than Finland, but I guess the world is round and a map is flat, so it's easy to get deceived like that.
Apart from that, Norway has some overseas territories as well, two of which are in the Arctic Circle, the Svalbard Archipelago with only about 3,000 people, mostly in the largest town Longyearbyen, and the uninhabited Jan Mayen Island.
Yeah, mine is, whilst inhabited, there are people living there, like people working there, either in the military, even though the military technically is not legal, it's not allowed legally to operate there, but they're the only ones that can actually fly in and out of there because they are the only ones with the skill set or with people in aircraft to do that. But yeah, other than that, there's scientists living there, working there. So yeah.
Which was actually kind of traded with the UK for these islands and Canada.
No, that I did not know. I've heard about Sverdrup Islands, but yeah.
In like 1930 when Canada was still British. Weird trade-off, but okay. After that, they have two dependent territories, the Antarctic areas of Peter I Island and Bouvet Island,
Yep.
way down south.
And we also have a portion of Antarctica itself that we claim.
Neither of which are permanently inhabited, and they also claim a portion of Antarctica known as Queen Maud Land. Going back to the mainland though, the country is currently, as of 2019, divided into 17 counties, or fylker, plus the unincorporated area of Svalbard, which, by the way, holds the northernmost permanently inhabited settlement in the world, with a population around 40 in the winter and 120 in
Yeah, and fun fact about Ny-Ålesund, Ny-Ålesund is mostly inhabited by Russians. Yeah.
the summer. The thing is, in 2020, the country will merge some of these counties into 11 regions. Already, North and South Trondelag have merged, and the final result in 2020 will look like this.
Yep. We're in 2021 now, and as you can imagine, the merge has happened. There were a lot of political discussions around that, and there still is. because a lot of the counties were merged without the local politicians and local governments wanting it, without the people actually wanting it, and the state actually did in several cases merge counties, or not, sorry, not counties. The counties were merged more or less voluntarily, uh, but several other counties were merged against the local government's will.
The country's largest city and capital is Oslo, located in the southeast, which also holds the largest airport, Oslo Lufthavn International, as well as Oslo's shipping port, the busiest shipping port in the country. A skip to the west, you find the second largest city, Bergen, with of course the second largest airport, Bergen International. It is said that almost around 80% of the country lives within 10 kilometers of the ocean, and despite the rugged mountainous
Yeah, well, it's kind of difficult not to live near the water when everything else than near the coastline, or everything further away than 10 kilometers from the coastline, is mountains, or I guess nothing, forests.
terrain, the nation has an extensive network of roads, bridges, and trains that cross virtually every region of the nation, including
Yeah, except for trains. There aren't that many, there is a limited distance you can travel north with trains. There is a railroad far up north, but that links to Sweden and not to any domestic railway.
the Lærdal Tunnel, the world's longest road tunnel that stretches 24 kilometers long, cutting through a mountain, and
Getting through a mountain, yeah. Well, every tunnel cuts through a mountain. I would say it cuts through a mountain range. That's more accurate.
also the famous Atlantic Road that hops from island to island in the Møre og Romsdal county. Now, what's really fascinating is that Norway kind of went from this to this. And for a nation that has never surpassed 5.5 million in population, it's pretty impressive. How did this happen, though? Well, as the legend goes, in the 60s, Denmark was like,
Hey, Norway, you are just the best. I love you, man, and you know, just to prove it, I'm gonna give you all this ocean water stuff.
Wow, really?
Yeah, just take it.
Thanks. Whoa, there's like a ton of oil here. Thanks, Denmark.
actually, it was the Geneva Convention like 10 years prior to that,
Yeah.
but that story's kind of boring. Now,
Okay, well, there's a whole thing there regarding our wealth, I guess you could call it, because a lot of the Nordic region as a whole is quite wealthy, but not all the Nordic countries have oil or access to natural resources like that. So what the oil gives us as Norwegians is it gives us economic security long term, but what really has made Scandinavia and the Nordic countries thrive like that is really the way that we manage our I guess workforce, the way that we our culture, like how we actually take care of each other, taxes and all that. That is why we thrive so from this.
as you can clearly tell, Norway has lots of access to the ocean. Due to all the serrated inlets and fjords, plus islands, they have the 7th largest coastline in the world. This also means
Yeah, that is I guess you could say it's depending on which sources you cite, some say 7th, some say even second largest. Some say third largest coastline. It's difficult to measure because of all the fjords and all the islands and all that. But yeah.
Means that roads and bridges can only take you so far, and in order to get around in Norway's west coast, you'll see a lot, and I mean a lot, of ferries and ships. And what's cool is that, like some other neighbors, Norway has a free roaming law in which you can pretty much camp out anywhere in nature as long as it is not on private property.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool. In Norway, we are all about nature and all about hiking, camping out in nature, hiking, doing whatever in nature. And what he says about private property is kind of untrue as well, because there are actually quite a few situations where the free roaming law protects your rights to roam on private property in nature. Like, for example, on a field, on a frozen field in the winter or late autumn or something like that, you can wander out on a frozen field, like a farm, legally. And yeah, the same with forests and all that. Even though the forest may be privately owned, you have a right to go there and be there and camp there. There are some restrictions that do apply, but for the most part, it's free roaming.
We all know some towns in Norway are situated in the most picturesque locations. Some, like this town, have no direct sunlight for 6 months because of the mountains, so they built giant mirrors to illuminate them.
Fun fact about maybe he says it now, but fun fact about Rjukan is that is where the heavy water operation was. So during World War II, a lot of the counter-Nazi campaigns were actually, or a big part of that was done there. So that's actually quite, yep.
In fact, Longyearbyen is known for being both the brightest and darkest place on Earth. Because of its location on the Arctic Circle, it gets 110 continuous days of no sunshine and 95 days of no night. Also,
True. It's not only there, but it's you don't actually need to go that far north to have midnight sun or midday night, I guess you could call it. So yeah, it's cool. Or some may say it's not cool, but it is cool.
Also, they have an emergency seed bank with over 1 million specimens built into the side of a mountain in case of the apocalypse and all plant life dies out on Earth. Also, technically, it's illegal to die in Svalbard.
Yep, that is also true.
Because of the permafrost, bodies do not decompose, so you must either ship out your body or cremate it.
Not completely sure about the cremating part, because I don't think you can do that on Svalbard, but I don't know.
Not sure how to segue out of that, but let's talk about cool places. Now, I asked some of you guys in Norwegian Geography what some of the top places to visit in Norway are, and here are some of the suggestions you gave. Nordkapp, the Viking Ship Museum, Nidaros Cathedral, the Dock of Bergen, the King's Castle, Alta's Igloo Hotel, Frogner Park, and Vigeland Sculpture Park. Try to find the one with the dude fighting the babies.
Yeah, the dude fighting babies. Okay, that's not the most known one, actually. The most known one, or the most famous one, is a sculpture where there's a baby or a kid throwing a tantrum, which is kind of weird, but I guess.
This fortress, this Iron Age farm, the world's largest moose.
Yep, the world's largest moose sculpture. If you ask any Canadian, they would contest that they have the largest moose sculpture, but I'm a Norwegian, so I'm gonna hold to that.
Sculpture, this whaling museum, the Roald Amundsen and Edvard Munch monuments and grave, the Kon-Tiki Museum, the Polaria Aquarium, the Ager Viking-style brewery, the Three Swords Monument, so many traditional stave churches, but this one is probably the most famous one. I mean, there's like 1 billion rocks named after body parts of trolls. There's that weird boulder jammed between two cliffs, a mountain with a hole in it so it looks like it got shot by a gun, so many ice caves, the world's strongest whirlpool, so many fjords like Geirangerfjord, Nordfjord, Hardangerfjord, Trollfjord, Harrisonfjord. They were even
Yeah, and the Bird Fjord is even actually in Norwegian, so yeah.
supposed to give Finland the peak of Mount Halti for their 100th birthday, but then it was kind of like,
Happy 100th birthday, Finland!
Thanks, Norway. So I heard that you're thinking of finally giving me the peak to my tallest mountain, right?
Oh yeah, sure, why not?
Awesome. Well, then let me have it.
Oh, see, there's this thing in my constitution called Article 1, which states that the Kingdom of Norway is indivisible, so here's a taco.
Yeah, we have a lot of when it comes to our constitution, it's I wouldn't go as far as saying as it's as crazy as how Americans treat their constitution, but it is we do. Well, of course, our constitution is the foundation of our country, so as with every other country, so yeah, I guess.
yeah, Norwegians actually really love tacos.
Yeah, we do. And pizza.
Which makes the perfect opportunity to transition into...
Oh,
Now, if you know anything about Norway's land, you'll know this one word. Fjords. Fjords, fjords. The word is even Norwegian. And it's interesting how it became that way. Basically, like many other areas in the north, the country is a post-glacial peninsula with over 50,000 islands that at one point was completely covered in ice. Over time, the ice melted, eroding the rock beneath, creating the incredibly indented coastline of steep, jagged cliffs and fjords. Of the coast, the largest and deepest fjord is Sognefjord, and it is the third largest in the world, extending over 200 kilometers inland. This means that much of the country is divided into regions of choppy fjord stuff to the west and the connected hilly and valley stuff to the south and southeast. Everything pretty much falls either within the alpine boreal climate or further up north, Arctic.
yep. Also, fun fact: Finland is commonly known as, or colloquially known as the country of, or the nation of the lakes, or the country of the thousand lakes, or something like that. Funny enough, Norway has more than double the amount of lakes and bodies of water than Finland has. So yeah, maybe they need to find another nickname.
Keep in mind that due to Svalbard and Jan Mayen, the Norwegian economic zone extends to the majority of the Norwegian Sea and much of the Barents, as well as the North Sea to the south. This
The North Sea to the south. Think about that. Yeah.
is called the NCS, or Norwegian Continental Shelf. Here, the largest deposit of underwater oil is found that supplies Norway with much of its wealth. A skip to the east, you find the largest lake, Lake Mjøsa, which is just parallel to the longest river in the country, the Glomma, which drains all the way into the North Sea in the south and has a drainage basin that covers about 13% of the country's land. A little skip to the west, in the center, you find the longest and most dominant mountain chain, the Scandinavian Mountains, where you can find the tallest peak, Galdhøpiggen, which is also the tallest in all of the Nordics. If we are discussing the overseas territories, then Svalbard is pretty much an Arctic archipelago of glaciers, this one being the largest in all of Europe, and the rest are mostly just cold valleys.
And the sad thing about Svalbard is that, and the glaciers there, or the glaciers at all in Norway, is that a lot of them are melting away due to global warming, which kind of sucks, to be honest.
Jan Mayen Island is the only place with an active volcano in Norway. The Berenberg Peak last erupted in 1980. Otherwise, if we skip all the way south to the Antarctic, Bouvet and Peter I Islands are dormant volcanic islands, Bouvet considered the most remote island in the world, and both of which are nearly completely covered in ice and only inhabited by seals and birds. Now, keep in mind about the oil thing though, although they export lots of it, gas is actually still super expensive. According to globalpetrolprices.com, as of 2019, it is just over 17.2 krone per liter, making it one of the most
Yeah, let's see.
expensive places to get gas in the world.
Yep. 17 is, well, maybe kind of cheap as well. I'll take a look at the gas prices for today. Let's see. Okay, so for gasoline, there we go. Let's see here. God, what is going on here? Apparently, let's see. It's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, now it's 22 kroner and 94. Yeah, 22.94 is it's now 22.94 per liter. So that is about two. Yeah, about $4 per liter. About.
I don't want to talk about it.
This is partially because in 1990 they initiated the Government Pension Fund Global. This is a national wealth fund run by the government to subsidize pensions when oil dependence runs dry. Now, Norway has lots of natural resources.
Yeah, I said it's not necessarily the oil itself that keeps us wealthy, as he says himself. It's when oil dependence runs dry, then we're going to use that money. So that's when we have no other choice. Like for example, now in the pandemic, it's been the first time in ever that the government has actually eaten into that fund to subsidize. Or to help people economically and to help businesses from going bankrupt and stuff like that, and the reason for that being the first time ever is because it's illegal for the government to actually use any of that for anything. So there was a parliament had to do some crazy stuff there. They had to go around a bunch of laws and stuff like that. So yeah, that's true.
Resources and clever ways of managing them, making them somewhat of a paragon for development few other nations can compare with.
Challenge accepted.
But for what it's worth, they have a unique system locked and loaded. And now it is time for my triple shot of espresso break. Usually this is the part where Noah comes in, but Noah is out of town. So let's give this to Keith.
Now, everyone knows that Norway is quite a prosperous nation. But just how prosperous is it? Let's just put it this way. They export more than they import, and not just petroleum products.
Yep, that's true. We are the world's biggest exporter of fish, I think, or well, maybe not of fish in general, but at least of salmon. Fun fact about that: Japanese or salmon that you get in Japan on sushi. That salmon comes from Norway. Actually, the sushi itself, sashimi or whatever it's called, that is. It's not Japanese. It's the dish itself is Norwegian.
Fish alone makes up about 10% of their exports, and they are the highest exporter of salmon out of any other country in the world.
I just love Voss water. It's expensive.
Tap water.
And it's Norwegian, so you know it probably came from like a mystical glacier or something.
Yeah, no, that's basically just our tap water. I wash my dishes with that stuff every day.
But it's expensive and Norwegian.
And you fell for it.
Ha! Y'all just got tricked.
Yeah, when it comes to tap water and stuff like that, or bottled water, I don't get it. Like stores sell bottled water. They used to sell a lot of normal bottled water before. Now, well, but they figured out that the bottled water market won't grow in Norway at all. So what they do now is instead of selling bottled water, they sell bottled fizzing water or fizzy water. And the reason for that is because not everyone has a soda stream or something like that at home. But yeah, there's no reason to go buy bottled water at a store or a gas station. Well, the only reason for doing that is to get the bottle so I can refill it with tap water. Uh, yeah. We have a saying in Norway that our tap water is the cleanest unclean tap water in the world because uh, it is so clean that you can drink it without it basically having been filtered at all. We don't filter it at home. There are obviously filtering stations that do that, like centrally, but there's no chemicals in there killing bacteria or something like that, and so yeah, we're quite lucky with that. I know that there are Mediterranean countries or countries in Africa and stuff like that that aren't as lucky, or in the Middle East or Asia that aren't as lucky with their water and don't have access to clean drinking water. But having access to clean drinking water is a basic human right. So it's sad to think about that. Yeah.
Otherwise, the majority of the energy in Norway comes from hydroelectric power. Norway
That's true. I think our last coal power station shut down not too long ago. So yeah, we are mostly run on hydro power, but also wind power. There's actually been a lot of controversy or discussion around wind power now recently, uh, because many the government wants to set up wind farms uh, to have windmills that generate power, but local governments, like people living out in the districts, they don't want that uh, because it's because of noise pollution, but also because it takes up space. That's number one. Number two, it's because environmental people, they don't want it either. Not because it's not environmentally friendly as an energy source, but it is an environmentally friendly energy source, but because it's birds are prone to being killed by them. So yeah.
became one of the first countries to adopt a carbon tax back in 1991. Although cutting down trees is still done on a smaller scale, they were the first country to ban deforestation. They have Europe's largest herd of reindeer, they have lots of birds like puffins, whales, and orcas love swimming off the coast. In the Arctic you can find polar bears and walruses. And now, food. Norwegian food is known for being either really nice, warm, and cozy, or straight up disgusting. They love their fish. You have some interesting fish dishes like lutefisk and rockfisk. Some other dishes include things like
lutefisk and rockfisk, they are traditional foods, mostly eaten around Christmas time as traditional foods, and it's not really eaten. It's eaten in specific parts of the country. It's not really eaten that much. It's not. It's not. I think it's a minority actually that eats it. Personally, I've never eaten neither lutefisk nor rockfisk. So yeah, well, lutefisk, for those who don't know, it's live fish. So it's fish that has been put in lye which is basically poison, for God knows how long, until it's just a gelatinous piece of something. And rockfisk is just fermented fish. Sounds not too appetizing, I know, but it's actually, I've heard it to be quite good. And yeah, porridges, we do have a lot of porridges that also is traditional. We don't just eat porridge necessarily around Christmas time, but rice porridge we tend to eat around Christmas time. Uh, and yeah, rice porridge around Christmas time, and then we usually have an almond in the rice porridge, and the person in the family that around the dinner table that gets the almond in their porridge, they get a prize. Usually it's like a marzipan pig or something like that. So yeah, it's quite fun. But the porridge, we have a lot of porridge. It's I guess it's from the old times where Norway weren't the most wealthy country in the world, so all we had was porridge, I guess. But yeah, it's good.
Various types of porridge. Pickled herring.
Pickled herring, yeah. Also something that usually is eaten around Christmas time. We use that on bread usually or whatever. But yeah, it is eaten outside of Christmas as well. But that depends on where in the country you live. Where I live in the east of Norway, it is sold year round, but it's not generally not eaten year round.
Kumla.
Kumle or raspeballer, either way, what you want to say, it's depending on where you're from. Again, this type of dish is also something that's usually eaten around Christmas time, or it may be eaten outside of Christmas time as well. But it's usually not the main dish. It's usually uh, eaten as a side to a dish, to a main dish. But yeah, again, it completely depends where you're from. But usually these are served and eaten in the south and western parts of Norway. Like when I mean south, it's the southernmost part of Norway.
Reindeer made in various ways.
Reindeer is quite good game. So yeah, we love we love our game. Yeah. Reindeer is so good. We also eat whale. I don't know if it's going to say that, but we eat whale. Whale meat is also quite good. It tastes like it has the consistency and color and looks of and a little bit of like the taste as well of beef, but it tastes like fish, tuna-ish, but not completely either. It's weird to describe. It's difficult to describe, but yeah, it's quite expensive as well. But yeah, it's quite good.
Meatballs and browns.
Meatballs and brown sauce, yeah. The picture to the right there is what we would call meatballs or kjøttboller. The one to the left is like he is written in Norwegian there, kjøttkaker i brun saus. It's meat patties, I guess you could say, meat cakes, meat cakes in brown sauce. Both are traditional Norwegian dishes. But yeah, you don't just have brown sauce there. You have mashed potatoes, you have vegetables, you have something. You have just potatoes, plain potatoes. Um, yeah, we love our potatoes and yeah.
Sauce. Krumkake.
Krumkake, yep, that is also generally eaten around festive times, either like if you, well, 17th of May or Constitution Day, uh, Christmas, any festive time, birthdays, yeah.
Brown cheese.
Brown cheese, yep, that's true. It's, fun fact, it's actually not cheese, it's a byproduct from goat cheese, but yeah, it's probably one of our most eaten cheeses, if you could classify it as a cheese. Yep.
These Christmas dishes
Peanut shot, yeah, again, depending on where you're from, these two are generally what you would eat depending on where you're from, peanut shot or ribbe. Ribbe is usually eaten, that's to the upper right there, it's usually in the eastern of Norway. Peanut shot is usually eaten western of Norway. And then to the north, it's usually some kind of fish or something. But again, it all depends on tradition, where you're from, where your family is from, yeah, it doesn't necessarily, where you live right now doesn't necessarily dictate what you eat. And it all also depends, obviously, of course, if you're invited to dinner with with a friend or something like that, a Christmas dinner. They may serve something that your family typically doesn't eat during Christmas.
and the national dish fårikål.
Fårikål, yep, that is exactly what that is an exact translation. Cabbage and sheep in cabbage is the direct translation. So yeah, sheep. It's usually not sheep, it's lamb, but still lamb is a sheep, just baby sheep, so I guess. But yeah, here's the potatoes, cabbage and sheep. It sounds maybe not as appetizing, but it's really good. It's yeah, it's quite good. It's really easy as well to make. It just cooks itself, and this goes also back to our roots. We weren't the most rich country in the world, so we had to do with what we had. And this is usually typically it's eaten around autumn. When the cabbage was taken up, where the sheep were being slaughtered, all that. That is because, again, it's traditional. These days we have the liberty to actually eat this whenever we want because we were not as dependent on the seasons. But yeah.
However, if you ask a Norwegian, they might tell you the new national dish of Norway is taco.
Tacos, yeah, tacos and pizza. Well, generally speaking, it's the Grandiosa pizza, which is Norway's most popular frozen pizza brand. Actually, I think it's Norway's most popular dish at all, or frozen dish, or finished dish, or I think it's the most sold anything in any Norwegian food store. Yeah.
They might have some questionable ingredients on the table for you to add, like.
But yeah, tacos and pizza are usually in the weekend, Friday, Saturday. Yep.
Mayonnaise or cucumbers. And I mean, come on.
Mayonnaise? Yeah, cucumbers I get, but mayonnaise, I've never eaten tacos with mayonnaise, but sure. I've never heard of it either, so yeah.
Mexico, even you break your own rules all the time and mix things up in your own country. So let the Norwegians have their fun. And speaking of Norwegians, have fun.
Oh, and speaking of Norwegians having fun.
Oh, and speaking of Norwegians having fun.
Thank you, Keith. Norwegians have a saying. They are born with skis. The word
Not correct. Well, not 100% correct. You were halfway there. The actual saying goes as this: Norwegians are born with skis on their feet. We are born with skis on our feet. Yeah. Just saying we're born with skis is not specific enough. Just saying that you could. Well, okay, I'm born with skis. Where? On my head? Well, yeah. People probably get it anyway, but yeah.
Even comes from the ancient Norse word skeith, which means split wood. If there was any kind of apex cold winter type of people on Earth, Norwegians
that's the Norwegian. If I were to guess, he's from up north. They're known. They are. They are. If you look at the stereotypical Russians, they are like that, just 100 times worse, and it's not a stereotype.
would take the gold, and they literally do take the gold. Like, they have more Winter Olympics gold medals than any other country. First of all, the country has about 5.3 million people, and as of 2018 has the highest human development index out of any
How the highest HGI for however many years, I don't know.
country in the world. At about 84%, the country is made up primarily of people that identify as ethnically
Identify?
Norwegian, including about 60,000
Identified as that ethnic Norwegian?
indigenous Sami people. About 8.3% of the population is other European descent, mostly Western Europe, and the remaining population is made up of other people groups from outside of Europe, from various regions of Africa, Asia, mostly from countries like Pakistan, Somalia, Morocco, Iraq, and Kurdish people.
Yep. And our biggest, our two biggest immigration populace is from Sweden, which is our neighboring country, and Poland, and both of those are work immigrants, I guess.
They use the Norwegian krone as their currency. They use the
Fun fact, those bills are outdated. We got new bills, I think, before this video was released. Yeah. It's a new design. It's not people, it's fish and ships and boats and all weird kind of stuff.
types C and F plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Interesting to note that they are not part of the EU, but part of the European Economic Area and Free Trade Association. In fact, Norway is a kingdom, currently under the headship of King Harald.
Although it should be said that a kingdom in Scandinavia is normal, but it should be said that the king has well, it's not like what you see in movies where kings like reign everything and he has no power at all. Like the only power he has is to, well, he has veto, but he's used it once, and that was in war. If he uses it outside of war, I think he will lose it. And he does have well, technically he can break any law without going to jail or anything like that. He has amnesty, full amnesty, but still, again, if he does anything stupid, he will lose those privileges anyway, so it's just representative.
The fifth. However, his role is mostly representative and ceremonial. His executive powers are limited, and most government is ruled by the parliament.
Most government is ruled by the parliament. Well, most policies are made by parliament, yes, but government and parliament are two different things. But yeah, most policy and politics is, well, almost everything is done by the parliament, and what's not done by the parliament because it's urgent or whatever is done by the government.
Essentially, though, although some would argue Vikings kind of started in Denmark, it really kicked off in Norway. Norwegian Vikings did kind of all the exploring and colonizing and raiding and killing, you know, Viking stuff. And no, they did not wear helmets with horns. Language-wise, Norway actually has two official languages, Norwegian and Sami.
I think We actually recognized 2 other minority languages as official a few years back. Again, earlier in this video, but for the most part, Norwegian and Sami are the biggest, or they've been or official languages for the longest.
The language of the minority northern indigenous peoples that have lived in the frigid regions for millennia. The Norwegian language, however, is kind of confusing though, because it kind of has 2 different
I don't know where this is going.
writing systems that everybody must learn in school. Nynorsk and bokmål. What exactly are they? Well,
The thing with Nynorsk and bokmål is it's kind of controversial or a sensitive topic because I'm sure he'll tell you.
it kind of goes like this.
Hey, we've been in a union with the Danish for centuries and now they are gone. We can speak our own language freely.
Woohoo! But we've been writing our language in the Danish style for so long. I mean, what do? Do we change it?
Hi, I'm Ivo Olsen, and I say yes. I'm going to listen to all the dialects of Norwegian and come up with a weird fusion thing that can work for everyone. I'll call it Nynorsk. We can teach it in schools and everyone can be free of Danish influence. And today, the Danish-style bokmål is still used by about 85% of the population.
Yes, that's true. What Ivar Aasen failed with it was deliberate, I think, as well. When he went around in Norway gathering these dialects, he consequently chose the western parts of Norway, and that's why the western part of Norway uses Nynorsk, because it makes the most sense for them to do that. Because that's pretty much what it makes sense. It aligns with their dialect. But this is written forms of Norwegian. Oral forms of Norwegian, verbal forms of Norwegian there aren't official forms verbally. So if you go to school, for example, you won't get lower grades for using improper verbal Norwegian, I guess, in the location you are, or in the geographical location your school is in. But you would do that if you used the improper written version of Norwegian. But yes, it says here bokmål is mostly used. Nynorsk is a minority still, but it is taught to everyone. Both of these forms are taught to everyone. There are a few exceptions. I think if you struggle with dyslexia, or if you are an immigrant or something like that. If you're an immigrant, you can exchange the secondary written Norwegian form with your mother tongue, so that you can keep up with your mother tongue in the school system. So yeah, for example, person from, let's say, Saudi Arabia, they would have the right to learn Arabic in Norwegian school. Yeah.
Weird side note, the word ha can mean almost anything in Norway. For example, ha. Ha? Ha.
Yeah, I don't get this. The word ha means one thing, and that is to have. It's nothing else. It's ha I would get, because ha means what? Say that again. It's ha. Yeah, it's.
Ha! Speaking of which, like many of their other neighbors, Norwegians have 13 years of school, graduating at age 19. And when Norwegians are just about ready to take their final exams, they go on a 3-week party called Russ.
Yes, that's true. Uh, and what's weird is that the exams are consequently put after the Rus time is over, which is kind of weird because when you think about it, what you do is from 1st of May to 17th of May, which is our Constitution Day, people, well, graduates from high school or secondary school drink, well, get drunk practically every day, go to parties, sick parties. They drive far, far away. They buy buses and paint them and rig them up with sound systems, and yeah. Search it up. It's completely crazy, actually, if you look at it from an outsider's perspective. And then a few days after this is over with, you have your final exams. And yeah, it's not easy to be at school when you have a hangover, reading up for an exam when you have a hangover, or when you are drunk constantly 24/7. Yeah, and yeah, people do go to school with blood alcohol content of more than 0. So yeah.
And just look it up. Norway has lots of different dialects. Here are some of you guys.
That is true. We have, I would say, for considering we're such a small country, we have probably one of the most vast amount of dialects in any country of our size, I guess, because I can drive 45 minutes an hour from here, not even that, and speak to someone, and we would understand each other, but they would speak a completely different dialect than me. And the only reason why I would understand them is because I've been subjected to it as a child through children's TV or cartoons or whatever. So yeah, that's the only reason why I can understand them. But yeah, there are places in Norway where we can speak to each other, and they would use words that won't make sense to me at all. They're not a variant of the word of the word in a dialect. It's a complete different word. It's like it's another language. Yeah.
Norwegian geography explaining.
På standard norsk ville jeg sagt hvordan, men i Ålesundsområdet ville jeg sagt hvordan.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So hvordan and hvordan is completely different. The only 2 letters that's in both is O and R. So yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Hey, my name is Talina. In standard Norwegian, you might say våres, but in Egersund area, you say okkas.
And that does not make any sense at all. There are many people that don't understand okkas. They don't know what that is. And again, the only similarity there is the end with S, and that doesn't say a lot because a lot of things ends with an S. Yeah.
In the west you could say gysna løyer da, and in the north maybe hvor artig.
I know that guy. Not that guy, but the last guy.
Oslo, you would say something along the lines of det ikke lett, skjønner du.
No.
Trøndelag County, det ikke lett.
Det ikke lett, sjø.
So in standard Norwegian you would say søppel, but
it's a trash can. No, it's not trash can, it's trash.
in Bergen we say boss.
Thank you. Otherwise, there are so many other things you guys, the Norwegian geography peeps, wanted us to talk about in terms of your culture, and here is Random Hannah with culture stuff.
Norway is a land loaded with tradition and folklore. Many of you have already heard of things like trolls and elves, but there's also scary beings like the Huldra, Nattmara, and the Nuken. Pretty much all Norwegians are outdoorsy people, hiking and cross-country skiing.
So the thing with these trolls and stuff like that's things that have been taught to children ever since since ever, to get people or to get children to, I guess, not be completely idiots and not wander off in the woods alone at night, not knowing where to how to find back home and stuff like that. And then, well, the parents would tell tales about, yeah, if you do this, then nothing would come and eat you alive or make you or steal your child. And the same, it's not only for children, it's actually made stories like that for adults as well. There's in northern Norway for fishermen is actually a thing there that it gives good luck if you have sex with your wife before you go out fishing, then it means good luck if your wife does not wash off before you come back. Which is disgusting. I don't fucking know where that actually comes from. What's the logic behind that? I don't know. But yeah, there are probably some perverts that once thought, hey, let's do this. I love dirty women. Yeah.
Our national pastimes, hands down. Almost everyone owns some kind of Mari sweater, made of wool with traditional patterns knitted onto the upper part.
A lot of people do, but I don't. For some reason.
It's usually in the national colors of red, white, and blue. Many Norwegians own small cabins in the woods.
Everyone does. Everyone does. If you don't, then you're not Norwegian, or yeah.
And they actually like to brag about how bad their cabins can be. As in how technologically disconnected they are, with the least amenities. No Wi-Fi, no electricity, no plumbing. You're hardcore.
Yep. Oh, we're not hard. Well, you don't need Wi-Fi anyway. Norway has one of the best mobile network coverages in the world. Not only that, but we have one of the highest speed. We actually have been scored the highest speed mobile network for 4G in the world several times. And yeah, 5G is being rolled out, but still 4G in Norway is actually it's actually faster than 5G in some places in the world. So yeah, there you go.
Speaking of bragging, in Norway it's considered super cool to come back from vacation and show off your tan.
Yep, that's true. It's not that easy to get a tan here, so I guess it's more so well, it's both girls and guys. Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard to get a tan in Norway. The Nobel Peace Prize is also awarded in Oslo every year. In Norway, everyone's income and wealth is on public.
Wait, that's our prime minister. Interesting.
Record, mostly. But for what it's
but yeah,
worth, the nation does this to help prevent tax evasion. And finally,
yep, our income and all that is generally on public record, income and tax reports and all that, tax statements. But yeah, as she said, it is for the sake of preventing tax fraud. Both so I can check up on whether a famous person or a politician actually does not is not fraudulent, but also because, well, every year the biggest media outlets in Norway, they go into these reports, and then they check pretty much all the famous people, all politicians, all the richest people in Norway and stuff like that. and they put that on an even easier platform to get it from, because now if you log into the tax authority to get a hold of these tax records for other people, you have to log in, number one, and number two, when you log in and do that, that person gets an email from the tax authorities saying that you have been in there snooping at their tax details. Not that it does anything, but yeah, it's not something we generally do. It's mostly so that we can audit each other. Yeah.
Finally, we cannot skip the bunads. These are traditional costumes of Norway that come in so many different varieties based on the region and town you are from. They are mostly worn for special occasions, especially for May 17th, the country's national day, where they march to the castle in Oslo.
Yeah. All right, get out of here. I want to talk about music. Traditionally, Norwegians have their own regional folk music and dances called bugdedans. Traditional instruments include things like dulcimers, goat horn, willow flute. The traditional folk music eventually found.
I guess I've studied music in secondary school, or studied, but I can't remember those instruments that much. But sure, I didn't really do much folk music there, so.
Found a way to fuse with one of the most popular genres of Norway today, metal, or specifically Norwegian folk metal bands. Not only that, but black metal was started supposedly in Norway.
I've heard that too, but I've also heard sources saying that black metal was started in Finland. But yeah, anyway, it's Scandinavia, or actually, it's not. It's the Nordic countries.
And it has since been a domineering genre many people have been playing for decades. That's it for me.
Thank you again, Keith. Anyway, we gotta move on. History. In the quickest way I can put it, Viking Age. This dude unites Norway into one kingdom. Vikings invade and take over a ton of other places like England. Christianity, Old Kingdom, Black Plague, Union of Kalmar, Denmark takes over, Lutheranism, Sweden takes over, Constitution established, first wave of immigrants to America, they finally leave Sweden, World War I, neutral, women's suffrage, World War II, neutral again, but Germany doesn't care, joins NATO and European Free Trade Association, oil boom, they vote and reject EU membership, host the Winter Olympics in Lillehammer, largest underwater gas pipeline in the world opened, Oslo grows and more immigrants come in, and here we are today.
Yeah, and actually, as far as the EU vote, we rejected that twice. It's not only once. We did that twice. So yeah, we really don't want to join the EU.
I asked you Norwegian geography peeps for some notable people from Norway or of Norwegian descent, and here are some of the ones you suggested we put in this video. Eric the Red, so many past Vikings and kings, blah, blah, blah. Edvard Grieg, Edvard Munch.
Yep.
These riders, these cross-country skiers, Roald Amundsen, Magnus Carlsen, Max
Manus. He's a war hero. He did a lot. He contributed in the resistance, the Norwegian resistance, together with quite a few other people. And we're really grateful for our war heroes. Hadn't it been for them, not only Norway but the world would have been a much different place. Had Nazi Germany had gotten a better foothold in Norway than they did, not that they didn't have, but had they gotten a better foothold in Norway than they did, they might have actually won the war.
Heyerdahl, Fridtjof Nansen, so many musicians like these people, as well as actors like these people, and of course, the royal family. Seriously though, did you guys watch the movie Kon-Tiki? It's pretty good. I mean, his migration theory was still kind of mostly wrong, but hey, you did a cool thing, man. And that's the thing about Norwegians. They're so globally intrepid. They reach out to the far corners, and with that, they've also made a lot of friends. Which brings us to... Now, Norwegians are known for being very level-headed and nice, but they do know who they support and stand by no matter what. First of all, Switzerland is kind of like their weird alternate parallel universe twin that shares...
Yeah, when I think about that, they are a kind of alternate when like skiing and drinking and welfare, or well, not welfare, but high standard of living. Is there high taxes? I don't know. Yeah, mountains. It seems like. Yeah.
There's a lot in common with them. They both are not part of the EU. They both are very financially stable, yet expensive to live in. They both have mountains and snow, and they both have similar values in general affairs. They get along pretty well and enjoy sharing the ski stories. The UK is a very close friend, especially Scotland, due to their shared Viking history. They even give them a Christmas tree every year to say thanks for helping in World War II when their king and
So, yeah, we do give Scotland Christmas tree as well, but this picture specifically, I think it's from Trafalgar Square, which Oslo gave us Christmas tree to every year. That's how the tradition started, and that's in London, not in Scotland. And then other Norwegian cities followed on by gifting a Christmas tree to other countries or other places that helped Norway during the war. Scotland, New York, there's something in, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Government were taken in from exile as the Germans tried to invade. Nepal has close ties as another mountain.
Sure. Diplomatically, sure.
Nation, they've taken much interest and send much aid to their programs. High-profile politicians have visited in the past, like their Minister of Environmental Development, Erik Solheim, and the...
When you say in the past, do you mean like 20 years ago? Well, not that long ago, but he's like 10 years ago that he was any minister.
Prime Minister of Nepal visited Norway as well. For the USA, they have a very close connection, not only in...
Yeah, there are... it's not just like diplomatically, but if you think about it, the US has like more Norwegian Americans than there are Norwegians in Norway, which is kind of cool actually. We did emigrate to them during like 1800s, 1900s, because of, well, we were poor, the American dream or whatnot. So yeah.
Diplomacy, government, and business, but specifically to the diaspora living in the USA, and specifically the state of Minnesota. Nearly 1 million Norwegian Americans live in this one state alone. The USA holds more people of Norwegian heritage than any other country outside of Norway, with almost as many as there are in Norway. They even have a game show called Alt for Norge.
Now, this doesn't run anymore. I think the last run was in 2019, and then they decided to not run it anymore, but yeah.
In which Norwegian Americans see the homeland of their ancestors. They cry and act way too dramatic, which is entertaining. The winner gets to meet their Norwegian relatives, and the losers get a book telling them information, but they don't get to meet their relatives, which is kind of messed up, but it's a game show. What do you expect? Anyway, when it comes to their best friends, pretty much what I've heard is a mix between all the Nordics, but specifically Iceland, Denmark, and Sweden. Iceland is like their party friend they love to go on adventures with. They're also kind of like the preserved Norse nation that their ancestors colonized, which holds a dear spot in their hearts. Today they have a defense agreement that allows the Norwegian Air Force to survey and patrol the Icelandic airspace.
Yeah, fun fact about that, Iceland does not actually have a standing army, and with that, they're the only NATO member with no standing army, which is kind of interesting. So basically, the only thing that protects them like that is, well, it's their own coast guard, which is more civil than military, and it's the American Coast Guard, which is military, and it's the Royal Norwegian Air Force. So yeah.
As well. Denmark and Norway, however, are always kind of fighting for Norway's affection. Both these nations in the past have fought each other and ruled over Norway under separate kingdoms. All three countries...
It's kind of weird actually to see, because we are we have almost gone to actual war. Well, we have had wars with each other like that, and we're great friends today. It's actually kind of interesting to see. Yeah.
Countries were at one point part of the Kalmar Union.
Yes,
They can
correct.
relatively understand each other when they talk.
That is correct.
Swedish is closer to Norwegian though.
Written Danish is closer to Norwegian. Verbally, it's more. Sweden is more. It's closer to Norwegian often. Danes often sound like, well, we have a saying here, and Swedes do as well, that Danes, when Danes speak, it sounds like they have a potato in their throat. And yeah, it does. It literally sounds like they're throwing up every time they're speaking, or going to throw up. Yeah, it's weird, but written it's much easier to understand Danish than Swedish, and also quite fun is that Danes and Swedes don't necessarily understand each other, but Norwegians understand Swedes and Danes, and Swedes and Danes often understand Norwegian. So Norwegian is kind of the binding of those, I guess.
They are all part of NATO, the Council of Europe, and many people from each of these nations.
Well, they're all members of NATO. No, Sweden's not a member of NATO, which is kind of smart of them, because if they would get in trouble, Norway or their neighboring countries, Norway and Denmark, would need to get involved, because that's threatening us as well. And with that, indirectly, they are part of NATO, because then whole NATO will support Norway and Denmark in defending Sweden. And not only that, but the Nordic countries all have in the Nordic Council, there are regulations and stuff like that in there as well, which just state that the Nordic countries have to support each other in economic crises, war, and stuff like that. So even though if Sweden was to go in a proxy war, even then Norway would maybe be obligated to actually support them, and by proxy, NATO would also be obligated. So yeah.
End up marrying and having families together. In conclusion, Norway's prosperity doesn't stop with their will for gritty, cold adventure. They've scaled the South Pole, the icebergs, the glaciers, and the tundras. It's almost as if the ice keeps them warm. Stay tuned. Oman is coming.
Yeah. Well, that's Geography Now, Norway, and well, it's going for 1 hour and 13 minutes almost now. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to see more, like, subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see more of, and yeah, I hope you didn't die on me here while I was reacting to this, and yeah, see you guys soon.